Welcome, everybody. Ted Huntington with another fabulous author to interview. These interviews are sponsored by Women's Rights Publishing and Author Services. And I will, at the bottom of the video, put links to C.L. Tolbert, Cynthia Tolbert's books, and also links to Women's Rights Publishing and Author Services. And also, as I say for all these interviews, please support these by subscribing to our Patreon page, which really helps us not just to produce the videos, but also to support women's rights publishing. So C.L. Tolbert, lawyer turned author Cynthia C.L. Tolbert, is inspired by life's trials and the growing desire to discover what's next. Cynthia Tolbert grew up in the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. Early in her career, she taught children with learning disabilities before moving on to law school. She spent most of her legal career as counsel to large corporations. She also taught law students in a clinical program at a New Orleans law school where she ran the homelessness law clinic and learned firsthand about poverty in that city. Those experiences and impressions she collected from the past 40 years contribute to the stories that she writes today. After winning the Georgia State Bar Association's fiction writing contest in 2010 for a short story titled Out from Silence, Cynthia devoted more time to writing, retiring after 30 years of practicing law. She developed the winning short story into a full-scale novel by the same name, and a new manuscript entitled The Redemption is currently in development. She'll give an update on where she is. I'm pretty sure that book is completed now.
Yeah, it is. I thought my website was also updated. Apparently it's not. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Check on that.
I'm sorry I pointed that out.
That's okay.
But we'll talk more about that in a moment. Cindy currently lives in Atlanta with her husband and her schnauzer Yoda. I suppose she's a Star Wars fan, or her husband is. Out from Silence and The Redemption are her first two mysteries in the Emma Thornton series. Once again, I'm going to post links to her books, to her website underneath this video. Please welcome Cindy Tolbert.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
So my first question, Cindy, how much did John Grisham's attorney turned author story influence you?
Well, perhaps it gave me some courage. He, of course, is, we both went to Ole Miss. I don't think I was terribly influenced by it. I think that people who are writers have stories in their heads their whole life. And the stories that I've had in my head, the ones that I've been writing, have been there before I'd ever heard of John Grisham. So these stories have been clunking around in my brain forever. If you're a storyteller, you're a storyteller. And that's all these books are about. They're the stories that I've had with me for a long time. So it's nice that, John Grisham went before me, and I think it's cool that we went to the same law school and all of that. But that's about the extent of that. These are my stories, and I haven't read all of John Grisham's books. I certainly have read a few of them, but I don't try to emulate him at all. You sort of have to find your own road, my road is my road. So
just coincidental. You're both lawyers, but other than that, there's no parallels.
No, I don't think so. I really think that if you have something to say, it has to be your own story.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah.
So who is Emma Thornton?
Well, she's a lawyer, and she is a mom of two boys. She is hardworking, somewhat rash, somewhat impetuous, somewhat impulsive. She is hardworking, determined. She she's relentless. People have asked me before if I'm Emma Thornton. No, I am not. I'm a bit more of a rule follower than Emma. But there's some similarities, of course. I'm an attorney. We have certain things in common. I'm thorough. She's thorough. I'm a tad aggressive. She's a tad aggressive as an attorney. But she does things I wouldn't dream of doing, and she gets herself in trouble in ways that I couldn't imagine. But it's fun to write this character. I'm enjoying it immensely. It's great. It's great fun to write Emma. She doesn't look like me either, so.
One of the things that I always look for in preparing for these interviews and researching the authors that I'm interviewing is, that thing that makes you really unique in the literary world. And it seemed like you started off, you had your legal career, and I think it's fairly rare for somebody to launch right into their writing career and have this character. So how much character development did you work out before you actually developed the story? I think that would be interesting to find out.
Well, I'd like to do a backstory characters. Yeah, I do a backstory on most of my characters before I start. So I knew how her relationship was with her mother and kind of what made her tick. And the same can be said for most of the characters in the story, the main characters. So I try to have an understanding of what motivates them. And certainly I have that for Emma. And for her boyfriend, Ren, for the dean of the law school, for, all of these major characters. I try to have sort of a psychological profile.
So how far have you already planned to take this out? You've got 2 books under your belt. Do you have
I'm writing the third. I'm writing the third, and I did speak to one of my editors / publishers about continuing the series, and she was very positive about wanting me to continue. So I guess we're going to continue.
That's great.
They don't have the contract, but she's positive about the continuance. So I think we'll work on that.
How did you land the publishing deal? How did that come about?
Sent them. This is Level Best Books. They're just a great company, and 3 women, by the way, own the company, and they're fabulous. What can I say? The dames of detection. They're fabulous. They bought it several years ago, and at first they published only anthologies. And then the year I happened to be looking for a publisher, they started taking full-scale novels. And they had something out in Writer's Digest, I think. Not Writer's, was it Writer's Digest? I think so. About wanting the first 75 pages. They were taking the first 75 pages of novels. So I sent them mine, and I said, well, why don't you just send us the whole thing? So I did, and they were interested. So that's how it happened.
No, that's great. A lot of authors will send submissions out and, to scores and scores of publishers, but you must have some pretty good work. And
well,
and they recognize that.
I'd sent it out before, and St. Martin's Press was interested, and a few other people were interested, but I just hadn't quite found the right combination. And I had gotten some good feedback from others, but this was just, it seems like a perfect combination. And they've got some really other great authors, and I'm just thrilled to be with them. I really am. They couldn't be better. Great mentors.
Good.
So I'm very happy with them.
So how did you catch the writing bug? Oh, this lengthy law career.
I think being a lawyer can kill your writing ability. I think when I was a little girl, I think I was about 9, I won my first writing contest. And I just didn't pay much attention to it. But when I was in high school, I did some writing and people had very favorable responses to it, but I didn't take it seriously because I always had in my mind somewhere that I have to make money. I have to do something that is going to bring money in. And I just didn't think about writing as one of those things. I was just a real pragmatic little kid and person and young person, I guess. So I just didn't think about it. And I guess I was just killing my inner artist or whatever. I also like to draw, and I didn't develop that either. Just it's kind of sad. So I went into this soul killing profession. Well, first I taught learning disabled kids, and I did that for a few years. And I switched careers and went into law school. And I after a while I began feeling like Ferdinand the Bull, and I just got tired of fighting. You do after a while. And I knew that I had stories to tell. I knew I wanted to write. So I had an illness, was laid up for about 6 weeks, and I started writing, and that's when the short story developed. And I sent it off to the Georgia bar and won the prize and was shocked, and that really started the whole thing.
So, yes. Winning something with your first short story, that's certainly going to encourage,
shocking.
very encouraging. Yeah. So what would you say is what would you say is the best part of now your author world, and what's the most challenging?
The best part is writing, and marketing is the most challenging, definitely.
Yeah, pretty much
terrible at it. Horrible at it.
It's a common theme, a lot of we did a poll recently on Facebook group, and far and away that was the biggest response, that authors want marketing assistance. So you're not alone. No.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice would you give to somebody that's a writer? I mean, there's a lot of people that are probably in the same boat as you, where they have this creative flair, but they've got another career that doesn't fuel that creative flair. What kind of advice to give to those people?
Well, I wish I had started writing way before I did. I think that you need to write, and you should find time to do it. I should have been spending my weekends writing instead of however I was spending my weekends, or my nights or whatever, my extra time. Of course, I was a mom too, and had all those things to do that moms have to do, but still you can find time to do those creative things. And I did have creative times with drawing and painting and things like that, but I should have been writing too, because in order to write, you need to write more and more and more. And that's the answer to writing. To get better, you just have to write more. And you have to read, of course, as well. But I did plenty of that. You just need to keep writing. And the more you write, the better you get. Writing is really rewriting as well. So I think that if I didn't have deadlines, I'd never stop writing any book. I'd still be writing out from silence if I hadn't had a deadline. That was my first book. You just never would stop if you didn't have a deadline. Same thing with redemption. So it's just, you just need to start writing and keep writing and keep at it. Some people start with journals, and I really didn't. I just do better with stories, with fiction. But it's a good way for some people to start with memoir. Eleanor Roosevelt said everyone should write their own memoir, and I tried. I just really hated it. I thought no one would ever want to read this drivel, so I didn't expose it to anyone. But I did write it, and it was an exercise. But I think just writing, everyone should just take time and do it.
And you mentioned deadlines. I think that's probably a good idea for those that are struggling to finish a book. They've had this book developed for however many years, and it just kind of sits there. Maybe if they correct me, if you disagree, but if everybody sets a deadline for themselves,
Yeah,
then maybe that's going to be the encouragement, the impetus to get those that have
get it
struggled really,
done.
right, just to get it done. Set a deadline. I'm going to have my book done by the end of this year.
That's a grand idea. And that's how I finished that short story. I applied, I was going to submit it to the contest, and there was a deadline on the contest. I had to have it done by January 1 or whatever the date was. So I submitted it. And that took a lot of nerve, because I had never written any fiction like that. And all of a sudden I'm submitting it to this contest where very famous people have won. And I felt like an idiot submitting it. So,
So what made you submit it?
I have no idea. I just saw the contest in the bar, journal, and thought, heck, I'm going to write this story that's been in my head forever out. I think it would be, I think it's compelling. I think it's a compelling story. I think it's a good story, and I'm going to write it. We'll see what happens.
And that's great advice too. Write for yourself, right? And hopefully
Exactly.
other people are going to like that too. But if you write for yourself, then at least pleasing yourself is a big win.
Exactly. I always thought it was a good story, so I wanted to tell it.
So if you weren't writing, would you be an artist?
Yeah, I would be. I would be trying to loosen up my my skills. I can see, you can see your psychological issues in whatever you do, whatever your art form is. In drawing, I can see that I'm a little bit uptight. I have, and I'd be working on loosening up some of my drawing. And I'd probably be volunteering at Atlanta Legal Aid a little bit more. I used to volunteer after I retired. And since I've been, if I was just writing, I could still do that. But writing and marketing, I can't do that anymore. It's just impossible.
Well, we're getting close to the end here. I'll give you an opportunity to do a little sales pitch. Speaking of marketing, what do you want to say about your books, your website? And you got a minute here. Go. What do you want to say about yourself?
I think my books are unique because there's a thread of social justice that runs through them. I think I have a unique character, Emma Thornton, in all of my books. I think that the settings are rich. They're all set in the South, and there's a strong sense of place. There's also this sense of social justice that runs through each of my books, both Out of Silence and The Redemption, and my third book, Sanctuary, which is coming out next February. So I hope you all take a chance and read my books. I think you'll enjoy them.
Well, good. Thank you so much, Cindy Tolbert. I
It was
really
fun.
appreciate it. Yes, very enjoyable. And I'm going to put links to your website and your books and to women's rights publishing and author services. And again, please support us by subscribing to Patreon. Thank you so much, Cindy.
Thank you. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.